from C3 Panther Nation, damn it. It's time to hear from the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. The number is 252-228-5098. Let's listen to what these Panther fans have to say.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey guys, it's the growl that makes him howl, aka Joey the Blind Panther. And yeah, it's Monday, dude, but so we're talking about traditions, right? How we need to start them. I got an idea. The fans need to sing along to some song, any song, right? That the fans would sing along to, like, I don't know, Mr. Brightside, the Colorado Avalanche do all the small things, some song that people would sing along to. I will just, sing along to it at, I don't know, the beginning of the first or the second half. Oh, I got one. We should sing along to The Boys Are Back. Dude, that song's awesome. Anyway, guys.
Boy, just getting longer and longer each time. We've been talking about one thing one of the things we need to do is we're trying to get some fan traditions started in Bank of America. We need the fans to show up, A, to get that started.
Right.
B, my number one vote is to get rid of Sweet Caroline and to do the North
Petey
Carolina, the Petey
Take
Pablo.
your shirt off, spin it like a helicopter. That's the best song ever, dude.
Yeah, but I think
That's
this is like we could need.
Was it really?
Yeah.
We need some more emotion in there. So yeah, I don't know if the boys are back. Is that what he's talking about?
Yep.
Like,
The boys are back in town.
It's got to be something about Banks or something we can do. But I'm over Sweet Caroline. It's a Boston thing.
Everybody gets so upset too. It's it's not our song.
Yeah.
And by the way, they're saying Caroline. They're not even saying Carolina.
And he's from New Jersey.
Yeah, it's just not. It doesn't.
Hey guys, A-Link again. Still fading from the loss, but it is what it is. Sounds like Wilkes gave them a little too little to do last week and delayed practice a little bit. And that's what he thinks is the problem. I think there was also scheme issues and players are not playing as hard as they could. So Friday, I had surgery. 8 screws and a titanium plate in my ankle because I broke a bone. Yay me. But I'm still thinking we need, as much as our defense is great, I still think we need a middle linebacker, a true captain of the defense. I don't think we have one. But he just can't see plays before they happen. I think.
Hold on. I think he either got cut off.
Who's he talking about?
It's over. Call's over. He was talking about the need for us to get a captain of the defense, which I think is true in many ways. As somebody, we're kind of missing that middle presence, it feels like. And I know we've said about Shaq Thompson. He's been, to me, whelming. Not underwhelming, not overwhelming. And that is a position, though, in the draft that you can really – that there's talent at that position that tend to blossom sooner than later when you get the right guy. It's not like you have to wait 5 years for their body to grow into it. There's a lot of times you can find a linebacker in the third or the second round who has, like, I think of the guys, a lot of them actually have played under Shanahan, like with the 49ers. What about who's the one linebacker for the Buccaneers that's real good? Not the first round
David
pick. Yeah, Levante David. Was he the first round pick?
No, you're talking about.
Yeah, no, that's the Devin White, right, or something. Yeah, Levante David White. There is talent to get there. So yeah, that's a position grade I would rather for us to see upgrade in the draft, to be honest, with some real collateral behind our bet than this continued 3-4 million guy in free agency that we've done over the last couple of years, from tired Whitehead to these other guys. And maybe we'll see what's his name, Brandon Allen, step up and be a
Well,
player in the future.
especially for us having such high-end linebacker play for such a long time. We're just not
Yeah.
used to the middle of our. We're not used to the middle of our front seven being that putrid and that pathetic. So I agree, and that's why I want to sign Bozeman and a lot of these free agents, so that way we're not having to allocate future draft picks to those
That's a good
positions.
point.
And hey, before we go to the next call, Panther Gal 73 $2 love bomb says Baker still sucked yesterday. LOL. Thank you, Panther Girl. And yes, he definitely did suck.
All right, next call, 252-228-5098.
What's up, C3? It's
What's up,
Anthony
Anthony?
from Charlotte. Just thought I'd give my thoughts on the upcoming game and the past game. So I went back and watched the full game. I guess you can call it the all 22 or whatever. And I mean, I know we've had trouble stopping the run, and that's kind of been, the main problem since like 2017. And I can easily say that I don't think it's as much as our D line. I think our linebackers are just
Perfect
average.
timing.
Like Shaq, just like Tony said it the other day, he was like, Shaq isn't overwhelming or underwhelming. He's just whelming. And that's the truth. Like, some of these guys have reached their peak. And it was really surprising because Naji Harris, I said this in my call, has been one of the worst statistical running backs all season. And he's been known as a fantasy bust this year. So I was really upset that we couldn't stop him. Now, moving to the offense. Oh, yeah. Keith Taylor was bad, really bad. When you play man coverage, you got to have physical dudes locking receivers up. And the Pittsburgh receivers are not world beaters at all. So, I on some third downs, I really thought we should have dropped back in coverage instead of all out blitzing. Trubisky just found an open dude.
Yeah.
Most of the time it was Keith Taylor. But quickly, I want to move to the offense. Man, we just got bullied. And TJ Watt makes a huge difference on the Steelers' D-line. There was definitely, Greg said this too. Sam Darnold, I went back. Maybe I was a little too harsh on him. He was a fine manager. But Joe Burrow or Allen or Mahomes or Brady, Rodgers, Lamar, they probably would have scored 14 points on those 2 red zone drives instead of 6. That would have made this a completely different game. So, there.
He's going to have a second part of the call. I did prematurely talk about my heater. My flex just went under. Ugh. Promo code C3 Prize Picks. Don't count your chickens before the eggs hatch, or whatever the saying is. Let's go to another call.
Second time caller.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share a thought. I feel like the Panthers defense personnel is built for a 3-4 defense, where you'd have Shaq and Middleton up the inside linebacker, Lou Boone Burns an outside linebacker with Brown and Leonidas at defensive end, and McCall at nose tackle. I feel like that would, bring out the best Burns, and Lulu. As a matter of fact, even Brown. Anyways, that's all I got to say. Good job, guys. Keep it up.
All right. Thanks for the support. Let's keep rocking and rolling.
Thank you, man.
Let's go back to Anthony.
What's up, C3? Part 2 my call because I got cut off. I know you guys hate part 2, so I'm gonna make this quick. But yeah, I mean, listen, QB, it's definitely a need, but I will say that there are things we need to get before that. Another edge rusher. I've been hard on Brian Burns, because in my opinion, elite guys can still impact the game when there's no other threat on the other side. I've seen this multiple times with multiple different guys. We need another DN. We need to draft a linebacker. Okay. Shaq Thompson, I think he won't be a Panther next year. He'll be off the books. He's making too much money to be whelming. Re-sign Bradley Bozeman, maybe draft a couple offensive linemen. I'm really high on Cade Mays. Shout out to Panther Pickle. I know that's one of his Tennessee guys. He is a beast. I've seen his film. We need another cornerback because I'm on Greg's side with this, man. CJ Henderson makes like 1 or 2 interceptions and everyone's like, oh, let's go. But when you really look at his man coverage grades, they are underwhelming. And J.C. Horn has really been the only superstar on this defense. I mean, Brian Burns had a great stretch. It's just we need more superstars. Tony said this in the post-game show, and it's 100% true. We need to hit on a draft where we get like 5 to 6 starters on the defensive side or offensive side of the ball. Now, 2020, we did that with Derek Brown, and guess what? He's the only guy that has made any impact. Like, you cannot just hit on a first-round pick. We've done this in past drafts as well. Our first-round picks have been so legendary that they've been able to cover up so many holes. Like Luke Kuechly was such a great pick that we never really needed top cornerbacks. We never really needed that good of a D-line. But obviously, when we all put it together and Josh Norman was having an all-pro season, yeah, that's why our defense was elite. So I think we need a linebacker there. Going into this week, I'm going to the game. It's going to be lit. But we have to win.
Cold,
we have to win. I don't see Tampa Bay losing to Arizona this week, especially with Trace McSorley as quarterback. So we got to win this, man. And I hope I hope Wilkes lets Sam Darnold throw it a little more. I think Terrence Marshall has some great potential alongside with DJ Moore. So those are my thoughts. C3, you're the best. Keep on pounding. Anthony from Charlotte, love y'all boys. Keep motherfucking pounding.
Keep pounding.
Cody, the Panthers need some stars, and we need some stars to align together. And one of the questions that has emerged after last week's gut check had to do with the guy who we believed was one of those budding stars that you hit on in a second round, third round type of capacity, a guy that has outplayed what you expected his expectation. And that player was Jeremy Chinn. For his first 2 seasons, he has really his first season was one of those that was ultimately like a Jamar Chase season on the offensive side of the ball. It was such a great season. It was going to be very difficult to replicate that and even or exceed it, let alone replicate it. I think a lot of Panther fans understood that, and Jeremy Chinn still played very well in his second year, maybe not as great as he did that rookie year. There have been some question marks, though, this season that have emerged where some people have questioned that first judgment of Jeremy Chinn being a star player, a guy that you could buy his jersey going forward, because he's dealt with injury this season. And now some people are starting to question his play over the last couple of games. Jeremy Chinn, star or not, Cody?
Listen, man, we need to have this conversation about Jeremy, man. I'm a big fan of Jeremy. I know we all are. I don't know if Jeremy Chinn is necessarily worthy of all of the praise that everybody heaps on him all the time. I'm not saying that this is that he is a bad football player. I mean, I love Jeremy, but the fact of the matter is, we keep on having this for the past. Where does Jeremy Chinn belong? Some people say Jeremy Chinn is a linebacker and that he's best serviced in that linebacker spot. Now, I've been a proponent of saying no, leave the man at safety, let him get better in coverage, and let him play the position that he should more naturally be playing. And I would be lying to you if I told you that he wasn't very underwhelming in coverage. He has not been a tremendous coverage safety, and he has been somewhat of a liability to the point where I wonder if maybe, we heap a lot of criticism on Brian Burns and how, he's the superstar that we want him to be, or Shaq Thompson is just mid-level. But I feel like we do not have this conversation enough about Jeremy Chinn. And yeah, it's at the point where I don't know what to attest to it. Are we playing him out of place? Is it just a liability in the backfield? I don't know, but so far, to steal a word from Tony Dunn, I've been very whelmed by Jeremy Chinn.
I want to start off this by saying that Jeremy Chinn is. Am I muted? No.
No.
We can hear
Okay,
you.
just making sure. I wasn't looking at the screen. Jeremy Chinn is a second-round pick, so he's not a first-round pick. Okay.
Right.
I'm looking. I have the same thing pulled up right here. Looking at his stats, he does have 27 targets this year and 21 receptions, so it's not great this year. But if we look at his stats overall, in 3 years, well, not even 3 full years, he has 272 tackles. 94 assists, three sacks, 2 interceptions in a little less than 3 years. That's second round number 64 pick numbers.
So here's my only argument with this. Tackles are an important piece to this, right? However, he's a safety for the majority of his career. And we had the same conversation with regard to Trey Boston and Reed and everything like that. If, in all honesty, if he's tackling, that means that people are catching in his area, right? That means that he's maybe not doing the right thing,
or
as
that
a
your
safety.
defense just sucks,
Right?
And you're like getting to second.
That your safety is the
level.
last line of defense.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think there is some credence to it. Now, I'm not saying that it is 100% the case that Jeremy Chinn is a liability, but it certainly hasn't been the star-studded, Jeremy Chinn that we have been accustomed to.
He hasn't played. Look, this is a season of injury for him. I mean, look, has he missed 6 games or whatever, right? I mean, he played the first 4.
Right.
And then he came back from injury against Baltimore, and he's played the last 1, 2, 3, 4. And you got to wonder if this is a season where he's just not at his best, but you're right, is that he's not having a star year. Let's put it that way. And sometimes that's injury. The question is that injury? Is it position? What else does it tell you about the defense? But as a guy in his first season, you could see him after that season. You're thinking, man, this guy could be you're starstruck through the first 2 seasons, really. Just really good, a lot of production. So it does stink. So right now we don't have any stars on our defense. The only star we have is a rising one, and that is J.C. Horn, arguably. Or you could say Burns is a rising star, or as he peaked. But thought that was interesting as we were going forward.
And I wonder too, we talked earlier about Taylor Moton. Maybe he looked better because he had such bad players around him. Do you think maybe Jeremy Chinn could fall into that category too? That he's had a bad.
He just hasn't had any turnovers this year. That's the thing, is he's missed games. And
he's only had one in each year though. Before this, it's not like he's a turnover machine.
Nah, he had one game. He had 2.
But you remember earlier in the season when
one game.
Remember when I had put out some news from the source that we had that Jeremy Chinn was upset with how he was being used in the defense and how he wanted to play more of the safety role as opposed to the linebacker role that Phil Snow had kind of been using him in.
And now we're
So,
doing that.
yeah. But I wonder if it's a conversation of, well, we need to have an entire off season of Jeremy Chinn preparing in this specific role before you're going to see him, thrive pretty much and be that best version of himself. And Tony, you mentioned needing a middle linebacker in the middle of our defense. I wonder if you start to add some of those pieces. Now, all of a sudden, does Jeremy Chinn start to look like the player that we've all been talking him up to be?
I would say he just hasn't had a good season this year. I don't think he's been particularly bad either. I think it's just, more up, All right, let's go to the next call. I think it's the last one.
What's up, guys? This is Dave. Just want to give C3 a shout out. Please like and subscribe. Longest running Panthers podcast.
Man, thank you.
I just want to give you my thoughts on Wilkes here going into this Detroit game. I'm extremely worried about Wilkes being retained as the head coach. If we go 1-4 through these final games of the season, I feel like Wilkes' job is in jeopardy. Not only is Wilkes a hometown guy, Wilkes is entrenched in the community here in Charlotte. It's a big deal, I think, to the community that Wilkes is retained. Hopefully, he can find a way to win here against Detroit, but I feel like the odds are definitely a stack against them, just as they've been all year. Us looking so bad last week against the Steelers, I feel like it's going to be hard for us to come together to muster up some kind of offense and defensive performance that's going to be able to beat Detroit. If we lose to Detroit, guys, there's no way we're going into Tampa Bay and beating Tom Brady and what could be one of his final, if not the last game of his career. I just don't trust the NFL to give the Panthers that win, especially with an interim head coach. The other thing about that, if we lose Wilkes, if Wilkes doesn't get the head coaching job, what direction we're going becomes really unpredictable. We could be looking at Dan Quinn as our head coach, which I fear the most, and us in the middle of a 3 to 4 year rebuild with a whole bunch of players that we don't want. Highly a possibility. But if we retain Wilkes, we can kind of pick and choose, and we know what we're going to look like next year, and we have the ability to predict and talk about and guess, where we're going to be. We need this game to Detroit. Against Detroit. I can't tell you how important this is. Protect the Bank failed miserably. It was 70% Steelers fans. It was an embarrassment. I went there and showed it as loud as I could, but it hurt. It hurt when I left. I left with a bunch of Steelers fans that went home with the dub, and we didn't really look that great except for Sam's 225 passing yards. I don't know. Keep pounding, C3. Let's get them. Let's get them on Saturday.
What a good call. Thank you very much for your support.
Fantastic.
If Steve Wilkes, I don't want another. We don't keep. If we don't decide to keep Steve Wilkes, I want us to go in a clearly different direction. And I am not ready to pick the San Francisco 49ers defensive coordinator. I know a lot of people are high about him. I tell you, the last person I do not want Dan Quinn. I tell you this is I don't want anybody like that. No Lovie Smith, no Dan Quinn, no who is it down in Houston right now? Those are basically just old
Pep Hamilton.
No, he's an offensive guy. The head coach right now is
Lovie Smith.
It's Lovie Smith. Who is? I'm thinking. Todd Bowles for the Bucks.
Yeah.
Like it's just these are just young versions of those guys at this point. Steve Wilkes is that guy. You might as well just keep him. If you're going to get any of those guys, you might as well just keep him. If we don't go with Steve Wilkes, I want us to go towards. I'll listen to you guys and the Ken. I don't like the Ken Dorsey, but I'll listen to you on it. I like the idea. Maybe the guy from Dallas. You could talk about the OC from Philly, right? A lot of people, or is that their head coach? Who is it that somebody has been talking about an OC? It was either out of Sirianni's coaching tree or
the offensive coordinator for the Eagles and the Lions.
Okay.
Has been,
but I'd really be saying Harbaugh. I don't know. Is that like a, do you want, I just don't want a lateral move when it comes to Wilkes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so hard. I feel like with coaches, it's just like players. It's who you're teamed up with. I really don't know where to go with coach.
Is
Like,
there really
I
a
think that
difference
Wilkes-
though between some of these guys? Like, is there really a difference between a Ron Rivera, Lovie Smith, and is that they're just guys that I don't know. I mean, like I feel like Wilkes is one of those guys. He may as well be the guy if you're just going to get a guy who you want to be a kind of constant and like safe play.
Well, it sounds like you want a splash play. So basically, it's almost like defense or offense. Like defense feels safe, offense feels like a splash play.
Safe. You might as well stay safe with Steve Wilkes.
Yeah,
that's why I'd rather just hire Steve Wilkes than any of those other guys. You're going to have to convince me with some sort of splash to go other than Wilkes. That's what I'm saying. You have to tell me something other than. Don't bring to me one of that, like another like Salah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Basically, the guy from 49 is just the next Salah.
I hope that I'm not prophetic here, but I've said this for a while. A head coaching hire that to me has David Tepper's name written all over it is Bill O'Brien.
Oh God.
The offensive coordinator now the Alabama Crimson Tide, formerly of the Houston Texans, has a playoff pedigree. The only problems arose when he was the GM in Houston. Tepper's not going to let that happen again. Yeah. He's an offensive-minded coach, and he has that experience. So I'm not saying that's my first pick. I'm saying it doesn't surprise me if that's a name that you hear start to pop up if Steve Wilkes is not indeed the coach going forward.
Wilkes has to win it. Wilkes is, you know what? Yeah. Wilkes' interview is happening right now.
Yeah,
sure.
That's what it is that Wilkes is like whatever happens after December, it don't matter how he interviews. Like you can not hold the interview. You know if you're going to hire him or not, basically. Like his interview has already occurred. So he's got a lot to play for, and that's why I think he's –